Anyway, here's something so dumb it made me chuckle. Professional right-wing dumbass Candace Owens accidentally let the world know that she's apparently never heard of construction paper before. My 2-year-old daughter just came over to me with a white crayon and said, "Mommy, it doesn't work." And I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask Crayola what exactly is the point of the white crayon. Gee, I don't know, Candace. It's a real mystery. Glad you're trying to get to the bottom of this one. And shortly after announcing her racist feelings about crayons, the Australian government decided to cancel her visa, preventing her from going on her planned Australian speaking tour in November. The Australian Immigration Minister is quoted as saying, "To ensure the safety of our white crayon communities, we have respectfully asked that Miss Owens' planned November event no longer take place in Australia." Nah, I'm just kidding. These two stories have nothing to do with each other. I just thought it was funny that they happened so close together. But she actually did get her visa canceled for being a racist twat. Immigration Minister Tony Burke confirmed that the Donald Trump-aligned influencer, who has claimed that Israel was founded by a cult and that secret Jewish gangs operate in Hollywood, would not be allowed in Australia as federal labor attempts to lower the temperature on domestic protests about the war in the Middle East. From downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about German SS officer Joseph Mengele, through to claims that Muslims started slavery, Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction, he said. Australia's national interest is best served when Candace Owens is somewhere else. Can you guys just take her anyway? But that wasn't the only Republican grifter that got some much-deserved karma recently, because only a few months after it was revealed in a federal indictment that Tim Pool and several other right-wing podcasters had been getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to spread disinformation and Russian propaganda online, Tim Pool announced last week that he'll be ending his podcast. He made the announcement in a short and sweet video message that he posted online to his fans. Let's take a look. "Yeah, Daddy Vladdy sent me no more rubles, so now podcast must go kaput." Well said, Timmy. Best of luck with your future grifts. But now let's switch things up from a feel-good story about a douchebag getting a much-deserved dose of karma to a feel-bad story about Republicans doing what they do best, taking advantage of people. I'm just gonna warn you right now, this is really gonna piss you off.
He had essentially put himself $50,000 in debt after he had given them his life savings.
So you made more than 100 donations in one day.
My gosh. WinRed. Boy, there was a lot of them WinRed ones.
WinRed is a fundraising platform most Republican campaigns use to solicit donations, often using misleading emails and text messages.
He started experiencing cognitive decline after the death of our mother and said that made him more vulnerable to these kinds of pleas for money.
So Dad, did you see in July of 22, you donated $38,713?
Yeah. Boy.
I got a call from our dad asking me if he could borrow $1,000, which he had never asked me for money in my life.
Yeah, it's just so out of character. It was almost shocking because he was always very frugal and very responsible with his money.
And I logged in, and that's when my jaw dropped because I saw hundreds and hundreds of transactions to winred.com. These amounts of like $10, $15, $40.
When we looked at his phone told the whole story because he would get
dozens
of
text
messages a day.
Can you just show me some of your text messages?
Yeah.
Do you know who this is?
I was dealing with President Trump, so it was kind of President Trump and Speaker Johnson were both, they want to know what I was doing.
He really, in his heart, believed that Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and other politicians were personally reaching out to him.
He'd never donated to politicians before. He'd never given this large amount of money before. It made no sense that he would do this.
The difference here is that your father is in cognitive decline.
Right.
It's just despicable. There has to be a way to stop them so that they don't take advantage of these people and don't ruin their lives and take their life savings that they worked so hard for so many years.
A Trump campaign advisor told CNN, "We strive to be direct and transparent by informing them immediately when they have registered for recurring donations, sending a notice 3 days before processing, and having staff on hand to assist with refunds and cancellations." Cool. Go ahead and refund that guy's 50 grand he sent you, why don't you? Spoiler alert, they're not going to. Aren't they great? Don't you want these scam artists running the whole country? But hey, you guys ever wonder why Trump's always so eager to do favors for Vladimir Putin? Well, it's starting to make a lot more sense, because apparently his own former director of national intelligence, Dan Coates, suspects that Putin is blackmailing him.
And I discussed this with Coates several months ago. He said, is this blackmail? In other words, is Trump being blackmailed?
I mean, that is wild. I don't think that has really sunk in for the public yet, that his own director of national intelligence suspects he might be getting blackmailed. It's not a Democrat. This is not some crazy liberal commentator. It's his own director of national intelligence that suspects that.
Yes, and one of the very important elements in all of this is to understand how good our intelligence is. As I report in the book, at one point, the United States has a human source in the Kremlin that the electronic and technical intelligence, it's never perfect, but it's much greater. So when they get into seeing war plans, it's not something that's just partial, it's a complete laydown.
By the way, that guy is Bob Woodward, the same guy that broke the Watergate story, so as far as reliable sources go, they don't get much better than him. And keep in mind that Trump is still trying to pay off Stormy Daniels. Like right now, like after the trial and the 34 felony convictions and everything, he's literally still trying to pay her to keep quiet. So if anybody's likely to be blackmailed by Putin, it's Trump. You know, the guy whose name is on Epstein's flight logs 7 times and cheated on every wife he's ever had and is still trying to pay off the porn star he cheated on his current wife with?
As you mentioned, and as we all know, Trump was convicted earlier this year, 34 felonies, after he paid Stormy Daniels to be quiet. He paid her 11 days before the 2016 election to not talk about her, what she described as her unpleasant experience having sex with him. We can report that he is once again trying to pay Stormy Daniels to be quiet.
What we're going to say in the future, that's no way. No, I can't let you do that. So he's like, okay, I got to get back with him, you know. So they want to cut some kind of deal where they silence you.
Don't they know that won't work?
It's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen.
They want to cut some sort of deal where they silence you. In the midst of this negotiation over paying off the last legal settlement between them, Trump is trying to get another hush money deal with Stormy Daniels ahead of this election. Trump's lawyer basically offered to take it off the bottom line. They would pretend that Stormy Daniels owed less money to Trump than they actually believed she owed if she also signed an agreement to not talk about Trump. You know, when he paid her $130,000 in hush money before the 2016 election, that turned into 34 felony convictions for Trump because a jury found that he illegally laundered those payments through his business to cover it up.